Welcome to Look to the Moon podcast, bringing together two friends with stories that need sharing. Join us, Jodie and Nicole, as we navigate life after loss, discussing topics around birth, trauma and baby loss, and providing a safe space for others to share their stories.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 10 of Look to the Moon podcast. So we've got another guest interview for you today, so you don't just have to listen to me and Jodie wittering on.
No, lucky for you.
Yeah, so we've already recorded an interview with the lovely Robyn. So Robyn is going to share her story and experience of losing her beautiful daughter Freya. So we just wanted to give you a bit of a disclaimer and warning that Robyn's story does talk about stillbirth of a daughter Freya. So just in case anyone doesn't wish to listen to this episode or is still struggling from their own experience, and just a little heads up that it's a very triggering,
covers difficult topics, doesn't it?
Triggering episode. So Robyn's actually only within the first 6 months of her loss of Freya, so it's all very raw and fresh still. And she's still actually ongoing quite a lot of investigations, and she actually discloses, doesn't she, in her interview, that she has her first debrief with the hospital between Christmas, between Christmas and New Year.
I think,
so it's a very difficult time of the year, as I don't know when you'll be listening to this, but we're only 3 days away from Christmas as we're recording this. It's a triggering time of the year for anyone that's gone through loss or trauma anyway. But we do talk about that in the podcast as well.
It was. I always say it was, an enjoyable. I hate the word enjoyable. We say it all the time, but we. As a couple, as in a couple of friends, obviously. Kinky. New news on the podcast.
New news, me and Jodie.
A couple of friends who obviously get a lot of benefit from talking to each other, and, that's our outlet. We enjoy, it is enjoy, we find comfort in speaking. We get comfort
from speaking to other families.
And we hope that people find comfort in listening to other people's stories. And
sharing stories and emotions and feelings.
Yeah, and it validates a lot of feelings, doesn't it? And I think, especially with Robyn's story and your story, there's a lot of, although the gestation was different, there's a lot of similarities and things that do sort of cross over.
Sharing the same emotions.
And it was things that Robyn was saying that I thought, you've said that thing, said that to me, and you've said that to me in the past, and I think I saw it, like you say, a lot of comparison and similarities between your two stories, even though they're worlds apart. They are, and I think everybody's story, we've mentioned this several times, that nobody's story, whether it's birth trauma, baby loss, miscarriage,
they'll never two be the same,
fertility, whatever it is, they're always different, but a lot of the emotions remain the same. So we hope that you do enjoy listening to Robyn's story, but also, like Nicole said, there is a little bit of a trigger warning with this episode, as there, I suppose there is most episodes that we speak about, that there's a lot of difficult subjects that are discussed and shared, and should be listened to with caution, because it's quite a difficult listen. But we're hopefully going to catch up with Robyn in the new year,
after
and see how she's getting on,
see how she's doing.
But thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Bye.
And here's Robyn's interview.
Hi Robyn, thank you so much for joining us. You're joining us for our 10th episode, which is quite exciting, that we've actually come this far, and we've got people like yourself that are wanting to share their stories. So we've done a bit of a briefing, which we always do. So firstly, thank you for taking the time to speak to us and to share your story. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your pregnancy and then basically telling the story from the beginning, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, of course. So Freya was our first baby. We'd been together 7 years when we decided we didn't really decide, it was just kind of, well, let's just see how it goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now kind of thing. To our surprise, we got pregnant with in the first month.
Wow,
Oh, nice and quick.
nice and
So
quick. Yeah,
yeah.
I think we're
Um,
victims of that
Yeah.
as well. We in a sense we've been lucky
Yeah.
from a
So
yeah,
conception perspective
yeah,
that we
definitely.
haven't gone through any of the
yes,
struggles of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, my pregnancy was normal, healthy. I had a bit of sickness at the beginning. All her appointments were fine. Her scans were fine. I had one extra growth scan just because she dropped on the chart a little bit at the midwife appointment, but at that scan she was where she should be for that gestation. I'd started maternity leave at 36 weeks. Um, first 2 weeks were great. I had my baby shower. We were just getting the house ready, and then on the Thursday when I was 38 weeks and 2 days, I'd woke up and found I wasn't feeling Freya move. Got in the bath as normal. Obviously, I was off work, so just did my normal morning routine. She was always dead regularly in the bath. She was in the bath the night before. She was normal the night before. Had a normal routine all day. And then I just noticed that she wasn't moving like she should be. So I messaged my partner and I said, look, I'm just going to ring the hospital just to get her some reassurance, just so that we know she's okay. Obviously, you expect to go in and they check you over and you're home that night. But we were told that Freya's heart had stopped. Our little girl no longer had a heartbeat. So yeah, not
It's
what
not
you
what you
expect,
no, I
or
was gonna
no.
say that's like the we've never experienced those words ourselves, so that
no,
can't comprehend what that must feel like. Like you
mm,
say, you've been through all your scans
Yeah.
previously, and she was healthy and fine, wasn't she?
Well,
Up until
I had a midwife appointment just over a week before, and her heart rate was absolutely perfect. She was measuring fine.
hmm.
So
And
you
how
just
did they check that heart rate? Did they just check that with a Doppler, or did
it
they
was
give you a
at the
Doppler?
midwife appointment.
Yeah,
Yeah, just with a Doppler.
yeah,
okay.
okay,
Did you have an ultrasound scan when you went into hospital then, where they told you
Yeah,
Freya's?
so they tried to find it with the Doppler, and then obviously they couldn't find anything. So obviously we just went into. I
Yeah,
can't even remember what we were feeling at that moment, if I'm totally honest with you. And it felt like it was hours on end waiting for them to bring that ultrasound machine in. But it was probably only about 5 minutes the whole time.
yeah,
And I think before the doctor even said it, I think we knew.
yeah.
yeah,
And then as soon as you hear the words, it's just I
It's a
think
whole
I just went numb. I
yeah,
couldn't even react to
yeah,
yeah,
the whole thing, and I just remember lying there and I just couldn't even speak or look at anyone. Or I
mm,
think the first thing I said was just get my mum.
yeah,
yeah,
And then I don't really remember much. We'd got taken to the bereavement suite, and I think I'd gone into that much of shock that I'd forgot Freya was still in my tummy,
yeah.
and the whole I still have to give birth hadn't hit me at that point
yeah.
until about I was probably sat there about an hour later, and it just popped into my head, and that was it. Then that was when all the emotions started coming out,
Hmm.
and it was just a whole mess basically.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Was it the thought of having to go through the whole labour and not having a baby to bring home at the end
yeah,
that found the
yeah,
difficult? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this your it was your first pregnancy you said actually?
yeah.
What?
Freya was our first.
Yeah, okay. So what was the next steps? What was the
So we
treatment?
went through all the options. Obviously, we talked about a C-section and getting induced. They don't recommend a C-section if there's no reason to.
Okay.
Um, they
Mm.
talked about the scar being a permanent reminder. In my opinion, I don't think you need the scar to be reminded
Yeah,
constantly.
No,
yeah.
I don't think you
I was
need
just about
that.
to say, because the process, surely the process of giving birth
Would be
would
more
be more
triggering.
traumatic or
Yeah.
Yeah,
triggering than
Yeah.
going through a C-section. and they're saying that there's no reason for a C-section, but
Surely that in
surely,
itself's a reason for it.
yeah, for the
Yeah, I
personal
would think
trauma is a
so.
reason,
Yeah,
Yeah.
surely.
yeah.
Did you feel
So they,
pressure into having a natural birth then?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. There was. Don't get me wrong, the midwives at that in that bereavement suite and that after we'd had Freya was amazing, but there was a midwife and a doctor in the room with us, and none of them would even acknowledge the conversation of me having a C-section. It
That's
was,
insane.
I
To
know,
me, I'm sorry, I know that's it.
it felt very much out of my hands, and I
Yeah.
couldn't make that decision for myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You
So
aren't you persuaded to do
yeah, and
what
then obviously your mind's not in the right place as it is. You're not in the right state of mind to be arguing with someone
you
about stuff
No.
like that.
And that's going to be very difficult to advocate for yourself
in that
in
Mm,
that
position.
situation
Yeah.
because
yeah,
you're not processing those emotions. You're processing the news that you've just been
yeah,
given about Freya, and they should be there to make the process as easy as they
Mm.
can for you, given everything else that you're dealing with.
yeah,
So I'm quite
I'm shocked at
shocked.
that. Yeah.
I'm really shocked because, you know, you can opt for a C-section in
Yeah.
your birth plan. There
Yeah.
doesn't have, yes, they can advise from a medical perspective that you don't necessarily need one, but you can always opt for a
Yeah.
C-section.
yeah,
That's a personal choice.
Mm.
yeah.
Oh.
No, so they gave me the first tablet that night, it just stops your hormones, and we got sent home. That as well, I wish that didn't happen. I wish we just stayed
They,
because coming
They
home to,
stay in your home.
yeah,
What-
so we had
what-
to come home to a house that was ready for Freya.
yeah.
I remember I sat in the car outside. I said I cannot go in that house until everything's moved.
Yeah.
So my mum and my partner, bless them, came in and they moved everything down to body wash for her in the bathroom and all sorts. Everything was just moved into her bedroom. That door's still closed now, but
Yeah.
so yeah, we got sent home and then we had to go back at 12 o'clock the next day, and I was induced at 2 o'clock.
Mm. Okay. How long was your labour? How long?
Um, so I was induced at 2 o'clock, and Freya was born at 20 to 1 in the morning the next day.
Oh God.
Active labour was very quick. Um,
Mm.
it's quite hard really because when I look back at my labour, I probably had the perfect induction and the perfect labour, but just didn't get the baby at the end of it.
Mm.
Oh.
Like I, not that having an epidural or anything like that, that's a bad idea, a bad thing or anything like that. But I
Mm.
got
Yeah.
that. I went from that. I think I was 2 centimeters, then I went to 10 centimeters within 20 minutes. So I didn't have time for any of that. So I gave birth with just gas and air, and it was probably the best birth I could have asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not the
It
end
was
result.
just not the end result that you obviously want.
Yeah. Okay. Did you find that the midwives and the doctors were very supportive during your labour
Yeah,
and Freya?
yeah,
And
yeah,
was she
definitely.
you at the time?
Yeah, so I had my partner with me and my mum there the whole time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like you had a good support system,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
you will have needed during that stage.
Yeah.
What, if you want to go into this detail, what was the process after you gave birth? And was, because I know that we've done an interview with another lady, your
Yeah.
experience, it seems that everybody's experience when there's a loss of of a baby,
It's different.
everybody's experience is different, and the
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
process at
everyone's
different,
preference is different
yeah,
as
everyone's
well.
preference is different. Even the way the trust works is in the
Hmm.
hospital that
Hmm.
you're at has
Yeah.
different procedures. So
Yeah.
what happened post birth? What was the hospital sort of procedure, but also what was your preference, and then what
Yeah.
actually
So obviously before I was induced, I talked about whether I wanted her straight afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, yeah, I still wanted to do skin to skin. I still wanted my partner to cut the cord and all of that. So we were able to do all of that.
happened?
And then the midwives took her and weighed her. And then we spent 2 days in the bereavement room with her.
Hmm.
Um, she was obviously in a cold cot. We could have had people coming in and out to meet her, but selfishly we just wanted that time on our own. Well, I wouldn't even call it selfish, to be honest.
Not
It was
Not
selfish,
selfish.
absolutely
it was
not.
just that it was just that time for us, and so we just spent the 2 days in there,
Precious.
Too
cuddle.
precious to
Yeah.
share. Too
Yeah,
precious.
Yeah.
we just spent 2 days in there as a family, and we just cuddled her as much as we could and took
Yeah.
pictures, and we were able to do a hand and footprints and the clay and stuff. And but it's like I speak to other parents, and the difference between, like you were saying, is massive
Oh
that
yeah.
people get, and the
Because
Yeah.
you
people,
didn't have a cuddle cot with Luna.
No. So yeah, so I was never, I mean, my
Was it
daughter
available or was it
was
never
never
offered?
offered, so I don't know.
Okay.
Um,
uh,
Luna was born extremely premature, so at 23 weeks, but she was born alive.
yeah,
And she sadly died at 8 days old. But I was the same to you. I wanted to spend that time with her.
yeah,
Slightly different. My partner didn't, but I did, so I stayed. But yeah, the cold cot was never offered. They offered me to stay overnight,
Hmm.
but they never said that a cold cot was an option. And I was worried about the changes that the body
Hmm.
would
yeah,
go through. But I chose to leave.
yeah. I
Um,
totally get that.
since I've obviously spoken to different ladies like yourself, I've heard about the cold
Mm.
cots, and obviously
Mm.
it's as awful as it is, they help preserve the body, don't they?
Yeah,
So you can
So you
have
have
that
that
time.
time, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it is mad how hospitals are so different. And we did get all the memories like you yourself. So we did the hand and footprints and like
yeah,
paint and clay, and then we actually had castings made of a hand and feet afterwards. They did that, like the dentist practice did that or something, I don't know. So yeah, we had that. But yeah, the memory making and the process afterwards seems to be massively different from trust to trust.
Mm.
yeah,
Which yeah, it's a shame really, because like I think everyone should be given the
It's the
chance and the
option.
option
Yeah.
to
given
do
the option, yeah,
Mm.
everything that they could possibly do.
Yeah. It
But
shouldn't be
yeah,
like
it's
a parent should be deprived of anything
yeah,
if it's available. And equally, people shouldn't be obligated to do it if they don't feel
yeah,
like they should
yeah,
want to do it. There should be everything there if
and
you
you
want it or
choose.
you don't,
Yeah,
and you
I know.
choose what's best for you.
A lot of the memory making, I don't know what area you're from, sorry, Robyn, but I know a lot of the memory making packages or boxes or whatever are from a charity. So a lot of them are charity based, have been set up by bereaved parents
yeah,
themselves.
Mm.
So I know we had, sorry, a memory box given to us prior to Luna's death, but knowing that that was probably going to be the outcome, so we could start making memories and then like put little things in it as well.
Mm. But that was quite
Um,
hard at the time that they
yeah,
delivered that box and
well,
you were like,
yeah, they didn't tell
it's,
me that she was like,
you know,
the bereavement
oh,
midwife just came and was like, "Hi, I'm the bereavement midwife," and
and
I
you're
was
like,
like,
my
"What?"
daughter's still
why are you
alive.
here?
Don't
Yeah,
mind telling me that. So yeah, but then obviously afterwards, I mean, I don't know about yourself, but we haven't, you said you've not even opened your daughter's room, so we haven't actually gone through those memories yet. And we're, what are we? We're last March that,
2 years in
yeah, nearly
March.
2 years, and we haven't gone through those, but it's knowing that you do have them. So
knowing
when you
that they're
are
there.
ready,
Ready.
We
you
don't
have.
really go through Freya's box either.
But I
No.
think it's comforting that when you are ready, if anyone's ever ready,
Ready.
that they're there and you had the chance and the
Mm.
opportunity to make those memories.
Yeah,
Because I think there will be, especially me, my partner Richard's a lot different to me, but
Yeah.
the memories are massively important to keep her memory alive, and not that you would ever forget any of your
Mm.
children that were
But it's a
born,
physical
but it's a
reminder.
physical, when you, yeah, when you haven't got your baby to hold or to be in your life, those memories and reminders are massive. So yeah.
And I think the regret, if you like you say, even if you were never ready, but knowing
Mhm.
that if you ever are, they're there,
Yeah,
if you didn't have
didn't have
them.
them.
yeah,
And like you say, everyone deals with grief and loss differently. And
Yeah.
you and Richard, you and
Oh,
your
we're
partner,
massively different. Yeah.
that, you both coped in completely different
Hmm.
ways, and you were both accepting that you
Yeah.
were going to cope in different
Different
ways,
ways.
which
Yeah.
allowed you to sort of support each other
Yeah.
because Richard was like, I can't do that, but I know you need to. And it was
Yeah.
the same in reverse. I know that
Hmm.
you don't want to do that, but I
I need
do. So
to.
we
Yeah.
accept each other grieving process.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
but I just like say talking to other ladies like yourself, Robyn, and like Claire that we've
Yeah.
spoken to, you're like the fact that you weren't offered that service is quite
Yeah.
shocking because it
Yeah.
seems like it's more common than not, just
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
everyone that we've spoken to.
Yeah.
Because is there a, forgive me in my ignorance, because I don't know, is there a set amount of time that you're allowed that cuddle cot, that cold cot?
I don't know.
Or is it an indefinite thing, or is it up to you to decide when you stop that
Mhm.
process?
So we were given, I'd say, the 2 days. They did say you could stay another night, but we do have to have rooms available for other parents just in case it's needed.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
right.
it was
Pushing you out anyway.
without doing so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that
Um,
it actually
I
must be
think
really hard.
I
That,
think
yeah.
personally, like you said about Luna, you found it hard with the changes. I think we were at that point anyway.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We were finding it difficult, and with the even with the cold cart, her skin was changing and her skin was blistering, and that was really hard to see. But then saying that again, we still visited her in the at the funeral home every day.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So
Yeah.
when we left the hospital, we'd said to each other, "Look, I don't want to remember in that way," but then we still went back
Yeah.
Mm,
every day. So it was like, what are we doing? But we couldn't stop.
No.
yeah.
Yeah. Suppose it's because it's not natural. Like you were meant to
Mm,
bring your daughter home
yeah.
with you. So not having that, I'm
Hmm.
sure it felt it's the right thing to do to go and see
Yeah,
Freya every day because that's what
Were
you should be doing.
Were you given that option?
We were, yeah, but we chose not to.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Luna did go to a funeral home in our area and yeah, there was an option to go and view
To
her,
go.
but yeah, we chose not to for the same reasons as you've just said,
yeah,
Robyn, is we wanted to remember it as that little baby
yeah.
without
Hmm.
those changes. Yeah.
So Freya went on the Monday, and we went every day up until the Friday. But
Yeah.
she very much deteriorated by that point, and we both just said that day like we just can't do it anymore. So
Oh,
we did get to that point, and that was it. Then we didn't see her then after that.
yeah.
And when was her funeral? Was it quite still quite a way away or was it done quite
No, so we decided against a post-mortem, so everything was quite
yeah,
quick
quick.
afterwards.
Yeah.
So Freya went to the funeral home on the Monday, and then her funeral was the following, I want to say Wednesday,
Okay, so
Tuesday or
yeah, so it's quite
Wednesday.
quick, isn't it, considering?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I suppose what you've just said there was it was going to be one of my next questions
Yeah.
is, has anyone given you any explanation to why what happened to Freya, why that happened?
hmm
And you said about like a post-mortem, and is that on advice that they might not find anything, or it would prolong sort of the your funeral and you wanted to
So
get that
the
process?
post-mortem was just personal to us. We just didn't want to mess with, basically. We
Yeah,
just
okay.
we just wanted it to be left alone. But they did send my placenta off
Yeah.
and the cord. We're still waiting for them. We actually have our debrief coming up.
Okay.
Um, that's took
A long
just
time.
over 5 months.
Well, Freya was born, what,
No,
six
six
months
months.
ago?
6 months
Six
ago.
months
So
ago,
over
yeah.
6 months now. Lose track of time. Over 6 months, and
Yeah,
yeah, there's been a bit of a fight to get them. I won't go into too much detail because it's been a bit of a mess. But
I can imagine.
yeah, we finally got a phone call last week, and they said, obviously, with Christmas, do you want to do it on this date? But I was just at the point where I was like, well, if I don't say yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get another
Gotta
one.
get it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a case of, yeah, we'll just do it.
Take it.
So that's
Yeah.
coming up.
So, sorry, did you say that there was something with the cord? Your
Or
No,
placenta?
they
like,
sent the cord off,
Oh, I
so
see. So
that
they sent
that's
that
gone for
cord and
testing.
the
Yeah,
placenta. Oh, I do apologise.
yeah.
no,
So
it's
you're
okay.
going to have the results when you have your
Yeah,
debrief. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. How are you feeling about the debrief and maybe finding out a potential reasoning behind Freya's heart stopping?
I think I don't know if I'm totally honest with you. I think either way, there's different kind of emotions. I think I don't want there to have been something wrong with
Hmm.
her. But then I also don't think that I could live without a reason for her just dying kind of thing.
Mm.
That I remember one of the doctors in the hospital turned around to me and said sometimes it's just bad luck. And I don't think that's something that I could live with, that my daughter just died from bad luck kind of thing.
We have
We were
literally
just
just had
talking
this
about this.
conversation
Yeah.
on our
Really?
previous episode
Before
because
yours,
you've just had a debrief at
Yeah.
our local hospital, and someone has said the words to you like it's just one of those things, and me and Nicole are both of the
No, it's
mindset
not.
that there's always a reason, whether they know what the reason is or not. There's always a reason, whether they're are advanced medically enough to know at this point. They might not be, and you might not get the answer, and that doesn't help.
Yeah.
People in your sort of situations, but there's always a reason,
Yeah.
and
Bad luck does
it's
not come
not.
into a
No,
baby.
no,
No, absolutely.
absolutely not.
And
Absolutely not.
it's like
I,
just it's like an excuse just to get over it.
Yeah.
That's because it sounds
And it
so
makes it easier for
casual.
them.
Yeah, like, oh, it's just bad luck. It's one of those things. It's, sometimes these things happen that it's like
To
you're
cop
making
out.
light
yeah,
of the most traumatic situation that anyone could ever go through and the biggest loss that anyone can ever go through. And it's far too casual of a comment
Yeah.
to make to a grieving parent.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
no,
It really isn't.
no.
No.
I
Yeah.
remember that comment sticking in my head for months and months and months, and I still think about it now sometimes, and it
It's
just
because it's
really,
outrageous and they should
yeah,
know better. And, people that should have the highest level of compassion in their job.
Mm.
And they unfortunately for them, they will have seen these
Yeah.
circumstances before. They will have dealt with grieving parents before, and that is extremely hard. But they should also understand, because they've seen this type of grief
yeah,
before, how to
How to
help
address.
and support and
Mm.
say the right things. And sometimes you're like, if you've got nothing productive to say, just don't say anything
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's not giving them an excuse at all, because that's just totally unacceptable.
Mm.
But to them, they will see it as it's a. I mean, I don't know. Well, we do know that baby loss is unfortunately a lot more common than people
Yeah.
think. But whether it be a daily or a weekly or a monthly occurrence, they have to break that bad news.
Hmm.
It to them, it's a
It's their
multiple
day job.
occurrence.
Yeah,
That's what they do. Like,
they're desensitized in
yeah,
a
they
way, I
do. But they
suppose.
need to.
yeah,
Like, this is your first baby, your very much loved and wanted daughter. For someone to say, "Oh, bad luck that," I think I
Mm.
would have punched him
Hmm.
or her, whoever it was.
Yes, I remember the
I
surgeon.
know my partner would have cried.
Yeah, I remember the surgeon. So I don't know whether you know my story. I had a really, really long labour. I had a 3-day labour with my daughter, and she basically we ended up in an emergency C-section, but she couldn't be removed from me during my C-section, and she was born not breathing, and she ended up with an element of brain damage, and she was in intensive care for a long time, and it's been determined that it's pretty much all human error. Like, they should have expedited my birth so she didn't end up getting stuck. But then the surgeon that was in charge of my C-section just wasn't able to remove her. They had to call in a consultant to physically remove her out of my body. And I remember that the woman that came to see me, who was in charge of my C-section, who couldn't remove her, all she came to say to me was, "I tried my best." And that's what she said. I was lay there alone. I didn't know whether my
You didn't
daughter.
even know if Bonnie was
I didn't
alive,
even know
did
if she
you?
was alive at this point. My husband was off with her. I was completely alone. She just came to me and went, "I tried my best." And I thought, if I wasn't, say, if I was watching that situation play out and that wasn't
yeah,
me that she was speaking to, I would have said, well, your best isn't good enough,
yeah,
because the surgeon that actually removed her from my body did so in 90 seconds, and you were trying for 40 minutes, and
To the point that she'd stop
to
breathing.
the point that she'd stopped breathing. She sustained brain damage and injuries, and your best wasn't good enough. So
no,
how is that supposed to help me and
Mm.
my baby that I don't know whether is alive or dead? I don't know whether she's, alive but completely brain damaged. I just didn't know what was going on. And I thought, get away from me.
Yeah.
I just don't speak
Yeah.
to me. Because
Yeah.
nothing you can say to me is going to make me feel any better. And I just thought it was really inappropriate. And I
Yeah.
think,
I think that's one of the massive learning points from the podcast and everybody's stories put together.
yeah,
Um, is hopeful that it gets to the people, the doctors, and to the medical professions that that is the right and wrong thing to say,
yeah.
and they need to
Mm.
learn from it massively. I don't know if your hospitals have that you were at, Robyn, if they have any learning from Freya's death, but I don't know if you've seen either, Jodie, but our local hospital is
Mm.
currently doing like learning. I've
Yeah.
actually, I
Well,
was like right on there, like, yeah, I can give you
yeah.
lots to learn from. Like, you do
Well,
not speak to someone like this. You do not
yeah.
speak that.
And they've said, like in our case, because our baby had ended up with like a moderate HIE, which is I can't even remember the long name for it,
Oh,
but it's
it's
an
too
element of
long ago for me
it's an
to
element
remember
of brain
medical
damage. So like
stuff.
yeah, like asphyxiation basically. So lack of oxygen, hypoxic
Hypoxic
something.
ischemia. I don't know,
I don't know.
something like
And I
that.
should know it, but it is so hard to pronounce. But because she had that like the moderate, so it wasn't like the mild or it wasn't the severe. She was level 2 basically. That was automatically investigated at that
Yeah.
hospital. So because of that, they've actually done. So what happened to us is actually called like impacted head. I don't know whether it's syndrome. We've had this conversation. I always feel like I need to add syndrome onto the end of that, but it's actually really super rare. And they've actually ordered like a dummy
Yeah,
to
to
do that,
learn
to
from.
learn that procedure. And at the time we've said this, we're like, the fact that our child has been now the source of a learning
Mm,
doesn't make us feel any better, to be
mm,
fair.
Yeah.
But then you think, well, no, but if it prevents it to happen to somebody else,
yeah,
yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But just going back to saying the right and wrong thing, the surgeon that actually delivered my daughter,
mm,
so pretty much the one person
saved a life.
that saved a life,
Mm,
because without him, she wouldn't be here. He came to me and he was the only person in the entire process. So there was a breakdown in my care from the minute I walked through the hospital to leaving that hospital. He was the only person who actually did everything right, but came in and said, I'm really sorry this has all happened to
like
you.
we fucked up.
Yeah, and he was so genuine. And I'm like, this is why he's the person that's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Because although he's done everything right and he's saved a life today, and probably two lives, including mine, he's come
He's
in and
picking up the
he's,
pieces, isn't
yeah,
he?
and he's come in and he's acknowledged that it didn't go right and he apologized. They were the first words out of his mouth and he had nothing to apologize for. And I'm just thinking that just shows you the massive difference between
Yeah.
medical
Yeah,
professionals.
and compassion
Yeah, and
and good bedside manner. Not
good
good
bedside
bedside
Yeah.
manner.
manner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been, with the debriefs, he was the person that was doing my debriefs and he sat there and he listened for hours as I spoke about how everything had made us feel, the impact on my daughter, everything. And he
Yeah.
just took it. And he was the one person that shouldn't have had to take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we digress
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
need to go back to
So
your
back to
story.
you, Robyn.
No,
Back to
you're
your
fine.
story.
I was what was I going to ask you then? So how oh God, I've had a
A
my
brain
oh
fart.
yeah.
Yeah, well, we were talking about, so you went to visit Freya
Yeah.
in the funeral home,
In
and
the
then
funeral, yeah.
you and your partner decided that you'd got to a point where
Yeah.
you decided that that was enough, and you were getting ready for the funeral, I
Yeah.
suppose, and
Yeah.
you know, I know from your perspective, you it was just you and your partner there,
Yeah. So
and
we
that was what you'd
yeah.
chosen.
We chose a very because to us it wasn't a celebration of life like most funerals are,
Wow.
yeah, so we wanted to keep it very low key and didn't want anybody there. Like you, she was very precious, she was ours, nobody met her in hospital, they'd only seen pictures, and that's how we kept it
Yeah.
at a funeral. How did you, what did you do or choose to do?
We got to the point where we just put it on social media
Yeah.
because people was messaging
Asking.
us and
Yeah.
asking, and I did want just family at the time.
Yeah.
Um, Not that it's a bad thing. My partner wanted his friends there, and he wanted the support, and he knew how loved Freya was, and he just wanted that to be seen, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I was just at the point where I couldn't speak to anyone. Like I could not send each person individually our daughter's funeral arrangements. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where we just put a post on, and that was it. And whoever turned up, turned up.
Yeah.
Um, it was actually a lot of people, to the point where there was people standing at the back. I didn't actually know this until a few days later because I completely zoned out.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
I still don't remember pretty much anything about the day. I remember getting in the funeral car and then I remember leaving the service and that was it.
Yeah.
I don't
Mm.
remember anything in between. So yeah, she did have quite a lot of people there. But if I'm honest, I don't think I would have remembered who,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
whether
don't think
we
that's your
had,
top priority
No.
to remember who's there. And
yeah,
No.
I suppose you can try and take comfort in the fact
Comfort.
that
She was
she was
very
so
loved.
loved
Yeah.
that,
yeah,
all those people wanted to be there for you and
yeah.
for your partner and for her.
Yeah. How did you find your bereavement care from the hospital then after, that because this is it, we're only like a week into
Yeah.
your bereavement here, a week and a few days with your funeral. How was your bereavement care from your hospital?
Um, so I didn't really hear much from the hospital, if I'm being totally honest with you. I don't know whether, so she won't mind me saying this, so my midwife that I had throughout my whole pregnancy with Freya came to
Mhm.
see me the day after we got home from the hospital, and it turned out she'd lost a baby
Oh,
5 years ago. So she was very much there from the beginning, and I don't know whether the hospital kind of knew that,
yeah.
Mm,
but I never heard anything from them. The only conversations I've had with the hospital has been in regards to Freya's results.
right.
So you've not had a bereavement midwife appointed to you?
I had one assigned to me.
Yeah.
Um, um,
You've not heard
not,
from her?
not really had much contact apart from Freya's results.
Okay. Oh wow.
But I
And it
don't,
shouldn't be your job to have to like chase that.
No, that's
That's
their job.
literally their
That's
job.
their only job role as a
It's not
bereavement
like I
midwife.
say, a midwife that, you know, is just is
Yeah,
standard throughout. Okay, they're a bereavement midwife, that's their
their
job to
duty to
support,
support you.
grieving families and grieving
Crazy.
mothers.
So how have you c coped? Because sitting here, this is the first time we've obviously met you. Is it? Can we say met you? Yeah, we've seen you.
Yeah, virtually.
You very fresh. We're only
Yeah.
6 months
Just
past.
over 6 months,
Yeah,
isn't
for
it?
your
Yeah.
bereavement, and I must say, you seem to be doing remarkably.
Yeah, keeping it
You're
all
a very
together.
brave lady,
Yeah.
yeah. Whether
thank you.
we obviously are only seeing a very small snippet of you,
Yeah.
and your life, and this is the most awful, tragic thing for anyone to go through. But without support, like what has been your support? How have you managed to
Mm.
cope?
Have
Or
you found anything that gives you an outlet to focus on, or yeah.
yeah, go on.
Um, so I write to Freya a lot. I write to her every day. Obviously I have my Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, I paint, do a lot of crafts and arts and stuff.
I think I've just seen it's just popped up on my Instagram that you're doing, is it like painting, and you're going to donate, like I think
Yeah,
it was candles and
yeah,
like that, and you've
candles.
set up
Yeah,
a little business to sort of paint. What's the page called? Painting for Freya.
painting for Freya.
Yeah, it looks
Oh, I'll have to
lovely.
have a look
Yeah,
at that.
it only just
Yeah.
came up today, actually, that I saw. So I was definitely
Um,
going to talk to you about that.
so yeah, I just keep myself busy really. We got a dog. He helps. He
Ah,
Oh,
gets me out of bed every morning. He's a beagle, so he's very much
you had the dog
energetic.
before you lost Freya.
No,
Oh, you've had the dog
so we
since.
got him. How long have we had him now? Probably had him for about 3 months.
Oh, that's
no.
lovely.
And he'll
It
give
was
you, like, say, it'll give you an excuse to get
Yeah.
yeah,
up out of bed, get you out in the fresh air, and
yeah.
you know, give
And
you
dogs
that.
just have like this, they just know.
They
They
do,
have the
they do.
sense, like
Yeah,
they know when you need a cuddle and when you need a little nudge to say, "Hey, come on, get
I
up,
need
Come
to
on,
get
go
get me
on
out.
a
out."
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, good. Yeah.
And what's your dog called?
Oscar.
Oh,
Oscar.
cute.
I love it.
Yeah, we're both dog people, as you can tell.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah.
love dogs.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you got
I've got two.
two
Yeah,
mad dogs
absolutely nuts, honestly. But yeah, they're a reason to get up. They've got to go out for a wee, they've got to go out for
for
a
a
walk. You've
walk.
got to feed them. So that's good. But yeah, so it sounds like you've had to just m make your own coping mechanisms and
Mm,
strategies, and you've just had to deal with it yourself. You've
mm.
not had any support or any direction from any medical
Well,
professionals.
like I said, my midwife throughout Freya, she was a massive support. She still is, to be fair.
That's
Okay.
good.
Um, so she was the one who basically got me to the doctors because I refused to do anything like that. And
Yeah.
Hmm.
she actually came to my first meeting with me, and we did all that together. And we met a couple at this meeting who lost their little boy quite recently from since Freya as well. And me and the mum talk every day now, so we've kind of helped each other through as well.
Found like your own support
Is that like
system.
yeah, is that like
Yeah,
a movement group that you go to
it was a
or
stands group that we
yeah,
went
so I
to.
go to Sam's, yeah.
You
Yeah,
still go to
Still
Sans.
go.
Still
And I'm
do
go.
actually
you? So
be a
I'm
friend of myself.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I
No surprise.
quite
Yeah,
quite guilty of only going to the one.
that's okay. Oh, sorry.
He's edging further out, and
Yeah, I mean, I think it's each person's different.
Yeah,
hmm
So I only started going to Sam's about 6 months after Luna. And that was down to my partner Richard because I was just going down, down, down into a very bad place.
he knew
And
you needed
yeah, he
something,
knew,
didn't you?
yeah, and the bereavement midwives, although I was lucky, I had two. Well, I nearly had three, and I told one to bugger off, but I had two, and they make all these promises. Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna send you that, and they weren't coming. You tell me you're gonna do something, I'm gonna hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then they weren't coming through with what they were promising. So Richard ended up just ringing them saying like, look, I've had enough. Like Nicole keeps telling me you're gonna do X, Y, and Z and you've done bugger all. Like I can't get her off the sofa. She won't go out and you need to help us. And
Mm.
that's when they said, oh, by the way, there's this Sam's group. And it was actually on that night in our local area. And he was like, you go in whether you want to or not, because you need some way of, I'm a talker, he's not. So I needed someone to talk to share,
yeah,
as awful as it is, to share an experience with, to share how I was feeling, because I've thought, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I'm feeling the strangest and worst things that you
yeah.
wanted to
You do,
feel. And I didn't feel
you do.
normal, whereas actually it's very normal.
Yeah,
And
It's having someone who
it's,
can validate your feelings, isn't
yeah,
it?
and
yeah,
yeah, what you're
Understand.
feeling, it isn't wrong. And, everyone deals with it differently, but
And there's no right or wrong
there's
way.
no
It's
right or wrong.
learning.
Yeah,
It's learning that if you're feeling a certain way, that's not
yeah,
wrong to feel that way. That's how you're feeling,
yeah.
and you
So,
have to
yeah, so
acknowledge those feelings.
after that first one, I have been pretty much every month since. And I got a lot from it. Obviously, I appreciate that maybe you didn't or you found it difficult because, you do. We're all sitting there talking about our experience, our losses, and it is very triggering. But I found it also very
Therapeutic.
therapeutic and helpful listening to other people and not being the only one, and made some good friends from that group.
yeah.
And sounds like
Mm.
you did. So did you meet one lady that you've then just spoke to outside of the group and never
Yeah.
gone back? You
She's
found
not
it.
gone back either.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
well,
but
that's
that's
it then.
okay. But
Yeah,
that's okay that you've found that one
you've
person
got
that you
something
can.
from it that you're
Yeah,
now
Yeah.
able to. You're helping each other.
And she'll
And that's
understand,
nice.
and she will
Yeah,
understand everything that you say to her. You'll understand what
yeah,
she says to you, and it's having that person that you can go to and
yeah.
speak to. And
yeah,
we've just said on this previous episode that we've just recorded that
Mm,
in different circumstances, but how talking helps. It just helps,
yeah.
if you've got something that you want to say, something that you need to share, it helps
It
to
helps just
talk,
to say it and
to
not
say it, and
sit mulling over it over
yeah,
and
and
over
get the
and
weight
over.
off your
Yeah,
shoulders basically to
yeah.
share what you need to share.
Have you had some good support from your GP then? It sounds like your midwife did.
No.
No? Oh.
No. I went to the
Ouch.
GP the first day, the
Yeah.
first appointment that I got for the GP. I went in and I sat down, and the first thing he said to me was, "So how far were you?"
Okay.
And I was with my mum, and my mum was just like, she was 38 weeks. And then he said, "What happened?"
Oh my God.
And you'd
Read
think he
it.
would have my notes in front of him.
Yeah.
Literally
For
will be on his
starters.
screen in front of him. Yeah.
Um, and my mum just said, they don't know.
Mm.
And then, so I'd spoke to my midwife and I said, look, I don't know whether you've experienced this, but all I could think about was trying again
Yeah.
in that moment. And that was the reason I wouldn't go to the doctors. And that was the reason that I wouldn't try any medication to help me.
Okay.
So my midwife have told me, just make sure you say to him you want something that's safe when you're trying to conceive.
Hmm.
Obviously, being a midwife, she knows that there's safe
Yeah.
ones out there that you can take,
Mhm.
and there is ones that people take throughout pregnancy and all sorts. And so
Yeah.
we said this to him, and he just turned around and said, "Well, I can't give you one that's safe." So in my mind, then I'm going more insane, thinking, "Well, I'm not taking anything."
Yeah.
It's like you're then having to choose whether
Yeah.
you
Between your mental
health
health and
and
what you want and need at this
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
So have you, d- excuse me if this is very personal, have you gone on to any medication or did
yeah,
you did?
yeah.
And
So
how?
it it took my mum ringing my midwife again, and she's
Mhm.
trying to talk me around into taking it, and
Yeah.
yeah, so my experience at the GP was not good and I haven't been back since. I'm just on a repeat prescription now, so I don't have to speak to them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I'm on medication after the death of Luna. Never been on any mental health
No,
medication.
me neither.
I don't know what you're on, and don't know if you want to say what you're on, but I'm on sertraline, and that is very safe in pregnancy.
Yeah, so I'm on citralopram,
Yeah, which is
which I
also
think,
safe.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, why do people make this journey more
I
difficult?
don't know. I don't know. But so I just walked out then and I was just convinced that was it. I'm not taking anything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because obviously I was just in a what a doctor says is right, kind of
Well,
more.
yeah. Well, yeah. They're the
Yeah,
professionals. You believe them,
yeah.
don't you? Oh, sounds like he doesn't. He's just a knob. Can we say that?
Say it, say whatever. I think the things that we discuss on this podcast, a little bit of swearing here and
Yeah.
there's
I
a
don't know. Do
I
is that
swear
why?
all the time.
Do I normally swear?
No, need to stop swearing.
Yeah.
I swear
Well,
all the
saying that, I
time.
do swear because my daughter swears at nursery now and she got told off.
Oh dear.
F word.
Oh no, oh God.
Oops.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so me and my maybe I do have a potty mouth, but anyway.
Really in conversation though, I feel like I
No,
swear a lot.
if I do something, I'm like, oh shit, if I drop something.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh
I
shit.
use it to embellish
Yeah.
and
Or when
emphasize
someone
usually.
annoys me like this,
Yeah.
bloody doctors and
Bloody bad.
bloody knobheads.
I had
So,
a question, Robin. It was more only again, it's probably because of the mindset I'm in at the moment when we were talking about work and
yeah,
returning to work, and we've had similar experiences in terms of returning to
yeah,
work
or not.
or not.
Just didn't go back.
Yeah. You obviously said to us before that you said obviously you were going on maternity leave, so you were obviously in employment or were working before you went off. Where are you up to with that? Because obviously you're 6 months in, and the experiences are very similar in a sense where you struggled with the fact that work could allow you to take maternity,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
struggled with that idea
yeah.
because obviously you
Because I
didn't
didn't
bring
have a
Luna
baby.
home.
Yeah.
So where are you up to in terms of working, time
Flexibility.
off, wanting to go back to work or not?
Very much struggling with that part.
Hmm.
I do get what you mean with the whole being on maternity. It's very much at the beginning, it was like, I'm on maternity leave without a baby. How does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It
And
what I
you were in
doesn't.
that mindset
yeah.
Yeah,
straight
it
away.
does not make sense. Um, but then it came to the thought of going back to work,
Yeah.
and that's quite scary, I
Yeah.
think, personally. I'd
Mm.
been in once just to see everyone, and I lasted about 10 minutes. It was too much.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing, what type of work do you
It's
do?
office work.
Right.
So
Do a lot.
working in office, it's quite a small office. It's a small family run business. So they are very, very understanding and accommodating. I can't fault them whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I do know that when I do go back, it'll all be on my terms and they'll do whatever I'm comfortable with, but it's still very daunting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think for me as well, it's going back and going to that environment and that desk and that space where I was pregnant with Freya and
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was with me that whole time. And when I left, she was gone, kind of thing. And it's
Mm.
very, yeah, it's that kind of emotional side for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you choose to take, are you on maternity leave then? Did you choose
Yeah,
to?
so I would be due back at the end of March.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So you've still got a good chunk of, well, no, 3 months isn't a good chunk. I'm lying. I'm
Mm.
thinking like October.
October. It's only
It
because that's
feels
that last time we
it
recorded.
feels like a long time though, doesn't it? But it's actually not. Like these 6 months of I
Yeah,
thought,
that would be like a 9 month maternity leave then.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How are you feeling about that coming up? Do you think you will be ready by then, or do you think you're gonna need some extra time and support?
So I'm going to use my keeping in touch days after
Yes.
Christmas in the
Yeah.
new year.
Mhm.
So I get
Just to
10 of
sort
them.
of
So quite, yeah, just to
experience
sort of
what it would
like
be like to go
Wean
back
yourself
and
back in.
yeah.
go back in and ease myself in slowly. And I
Yeah.
don't think I will, I don't think I'll be able to go back full time straight away. I think it will
Yeah.
be very much a process of
Gradual, yeah.
easing myself in and gradually doing so.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's
It's good that you've
one
got a
of them,
support.
I think. Sorry.
Yes.
Good that you've got a supportive team by the
Yeah,
sound.
definitely.
Like you
Definitely.
say, probably only a smaller team than some big companies have. So
Mm.
yeah.
And that'll be easier for them to that rather than a large corporation because they've got
Yeah.
it's like well, you work for the NHS. The
Yeah.
NHS has got certain rules and guidelines and unfortunately they can't necessarily tailor it to
No.
individual people, but a smaller company they've got
They've
it's
got the
their
time,
discretion.
haven't they? That
It's their discretion to be able to
yeah.
give you what you need if they can give you what you need,
Yeah.
and which is good to know that
Mm.
you've got that
I,
support.
I don't know if you know, Robin, that there is, I think it's through SANS, maybe. I might be lying to you, but I think it is through SANS that they do free training to workplaces to help your colleagues um
All right.
knowing what to say and what not to say.
Educating.
I didn't
Education.
know that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's SANS. So one of um the friends that I've met at SANS told me about it because she's in an office based
Hmm.
and they went into her work prior to her return to have training on baby loss and how to support your colleague returning to work.
Oh
So
wow.
I'll have a look and then I'll send it you just whether
Yeah,
that might
I do. Thank you.
help.
I didn't know that was they did
Yeah,
that.
no,
That's really
it is.
good.
Because I think like there is I always found after we lost Luna, I don't know if you had similar, but people don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So
No.
people say nothing, but that makes it worse.
Yeah.
That
Because then
meant I
you're like,
yeah,
oh, like I want to talk about my daughter. She's still my
yeah,
daughter. She was still born. Freya's still
yeah.
part of my family. So talk about her, but they just go, because they don't know what to say.
And it's the
And
fear of saying the
the
wrong
wrong
thing,
thing.
which
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think we've said we totally understand
Yeah.
that, you
yeah.
go through something traumatic or you go through a loss and people, I think some
People,
people, like you say, they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to upset you more, so they don't
yeah.
say anything. And then you think, well, I don't know what's worse, saying nothing or saying the wrong
Yeah,
thing.
but
And
they don't acknowledge what you want and need, and
Hmm.
that's
yes,
the
I
it's
think
how
thinking.
they're
yeah.
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, the
It's how
thinking
they'll
of
We
make,
themselves.
yeah,
we've said it from the beginning that we know that nothing nobody says is going to make us feel better.
Yeah,
Nothing that anybody says is going to take this away or take the pain away whatsoever.
yeah,
So we would much rather you try to say something rather than just
you said
ignore
the same
us and
thing.
not
yeah,
say anything because I don't know whether you were the same, but sometimes you feel like a different generation of people that people are scared to touch.
yeah,
Mm,
And
definitely.
they're scared that if they touch you, you're going to go off like a bomb or something. And it's,
Yeah,
mm.
they won't
or
come anywhere near you. And I think that's worse.
yeah, like I always struggled so with other people that were pregnant
Hmm.
Hmm.
when after we lost Luna. Like they don't want to see you because it's like you might catch baby death, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's not a
Yeah.
disease. Like it's just like I'm not gonna pass that on to your pregnancy.
Mm.
And yeah, the avoidance and the not saying anything's worse
I think
than
it's,
saying the wrong thing. Because, like you say,
Yeah.
you're not going to make me feel any worse. Like, we've
Yeah.
just
mm,
lost our daughter.
mm,
Like, it's the worst thing anybody can ever go through. So,
Yeah.
you saying, are you okay? Isn't gonna break, it might make me upset, but it's not gonna break me.
Yeah.
It's, but I think the acknowledgement, you need to acknowledge the bereavement, the parents'
Hmm.
feelings and how they want to deal with it because they're just thinking of themselves
And
and
it's like
it's
if you've got a
selfish.
pregnant friend,
Yeah.
I think they're worried that they're going to be a reminder and
Yeah.
that you're going to feel sad. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I'm pregnant and I see my friend who's lost their baby, I'm going to make them feel sad, which
Yeah.
makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
So like you say, it's not intentionally
Yeah.
selfish, but
Yeah.
But they're
that's how it comes, yeah,
yeah, people just think of themselves,
and how it makes them
unfortunately.
feel, and if it's awkward.
Yeah. No, but I'll definitely have a look and send it you
Yeah,
later.
thank you.
It might be something
I'll have
that
a
you're
look at that.
helpful,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
would make that transition into work maybe a little bit smoother and easier for
That's
you.
a really good resource, and I didn't
Yeah,
know
no, it
that.
is. Yeah,
Mm.
I'll have to
Because
post it on the page.
yeah, I'll leave that to you because you're a
Yeah.
bit more educated in the department.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a really valuable resource
Yeah.
if, they do that and they can do that because it is so difficult, like you
Yeah.
say. I think like any sort of loss, like I think everybody feels that they don't know what to say, but
Yeah.
in the most tragic of losses, when you lose a child or lose a
Yeah.
baby, people the natural instinct is to try and make you feel better. But
Yeah.
like you said, there's nothing that people
Nothing.
can
No.
say. So it's learning what you can say just to be there and be a
Yeah.
support. And I think we should definitely post
Yeah.
that
We'll
on the
post it.
page.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'll have a look in a bit and
mm.
find it. Yeah.
How is your partner doing? Is he coped in a little bit of a different way, or have you been quite united in sort of your coping mechanisms? Is there anything he's doing as sort of the dad? Because we always look at it from a female perspective. We're the one that you carry your baby, you deliver your baby, and a lot of people, don't
Forget
see
about
the
the dad.
emotional effect that it
Mm.
has on your partner. Like I know that my husband really struggled during that time because he was looking after me and worrying about our baby as well. And I think every partner has that
Yeah.
because you're worrying about how your partner's coping. So, but how's he dealt with it? Has he been more of a silent type? Is he quite
Yeah. I think
open?
he very much went into survival mode from the beginning. But when I look back now, it was definitely for me. When I look back, he was basically my carer for a couple of months because I couldn't function, I couldn't do anything. So he was very much right. I have to be strong for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, he still very much struggles now because I think he's in that mindset that if he's upset and if he brings something up, it trigger me and upset me. So
Hmm.
we are struggling a little bit with the fact that I want him to talk to me now. I'm a little bit stronger. I can be there for him when he needs me to.
Yeah.
Um, he gets a lot of release from football.
Hmm.
He goes
Well,
to a dad's football team now, which is really nice.
Oh, that's
They
nice.
set up a bereaved dad's football team at our local football ground, and so he goes there every Friday. And the mum that I speak to has got quite close with the dad, so he tends to speak to them a lot more than me because I think he
Mm.
thinks it would upset me.
mhm.
Um, but we have had a few disagreements where I'm like, no, I need you to talk to me now.
Yeah.
And whereas I'm very much open about talking about Freya, I could do it all day. She's my favorite person to talk about.
Of course.
He struggles.
Yeah.
He very much struggles, and not that he doesn't want to. It's just
Yeah.
too hard for him at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think I don't speak for all men, but I know that my husband doesn't like talking about what happened to us. And I think Richard's very much like that. That I
Yeah.
think I think it is the default. It doesn't happen to every couple, and every couple is different. But I find that the men are more like say the silent type, the
Yeah,
internalize, and you know, I think it's great that your partner has that outlet
Mm.
for football, which is I found sports one of my outlets, and it's a time where I can just go and I can concentrate on the sport and I don't think about anything and literally leave everything behind. And it is a wonderful outlet. So I think that's definitely something to be encouraged for him to continue, especially if he's doing it
yeah,
with people that also understand the
yeah,
position he's in. But I think it's good now that you've communicated with him that, you can talk to me. Even if it's an upsetting conversation, the fact
Yeah.
that we can talk about Freya and what we went through and, you know, how we look to the future,
Yeah.
it'd be good for him to continue to open up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I say, you still have conversations that you're like waiting to
Yeah.
have with your partner, and
I
they
think
will come in
it is
time.
very much like you say that he doesn't want to talk to you because he doesn't want to upset you, and vice versa. You know that if you talk to him about Freya, you're probably going to upset him.
Hmm.
But sometimes I think that's what you need because
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
needs an outlet and everybody needs to just get it all off your chest
Yeah.
and like
Hmm.
and you know that's his daughter just as much as it was your daughter.
Yeah.
And he deserves to talk and remember about Freya in whatever way he chooses.
Yeah.
And he will in his own way.
Hmm.
But then I think it's also important for a couple to survive having a baby that is alive is one of the hardest things. So for a
Yeah.
couple to
Make or break,
survive
usually. Yeah.
going through the tragic of losing your baby, it's bloody hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
is. It really
like
is.
it takes a massive toll on any relationship. And like it sounds like you've been together for a very long time. Freya was a very much wanted and loved baby, and she always will be. And that I think that's what you've got to remember is you two were there first, and you've got to continue that for her sake as well.
Yeah.
And for any if you ever did decide to,
Hmm.
try and have another baby. Is that something that you've ever spoken to him about yet, or are you? I know
Yeah.
before you said, yeah, I want another baby, and that's what I'm focusing on. Um, but is that something that you continue with? Is that how you still feel, the both of you, or?
Yeah, we're both very much wanting
Yeah,
that. We are currently
oh,
trying, so that's a whole new journey.
yeah,
Um, a very difficult one, but
Of
absolutely.
course.
Yeah,
Of course.
yeah. I just hope that you will find the right support from medical professions. Again, I don't know if I don't. Do I know what area Robin's from? What area are you? Are you near us? Are you
No,
near
I
our
don't know
area?
where you're based.
Darwin, we're in
Where?
Darwin,
Oh, where's that?
Blackburn.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's not
Blackburn.
too
Oh,
far
that's not too far from us.
then. Okay.
We're down in
I'm not
Cheshire.
very good at geography, as you can tell.
Blackburn's
We're
Blackburn.
about
north. It's
Yeah.
we're
Lancashire.
about half an hour away from Manchester.
Yeah, well, we're about half an hour away from Manchester, but in the other direction.
The other
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, the other way, south,
Yeah.
south.
So
Yeah.
Manchester is one of the hospitals that we were at with Luna, and that hospital in particular, I don't know if your local hospital has it, but that hospital has something called a rainbow clinic.
Yeah, ours
Luna,
has that.
do you
Yeah,
have that? Have you been in
yeah,
contact with? Okay, good. I was going to say.
Good. Yeah, we've literally just
Pasted on all
discussed.
my stuff to you
Like,
because
just
that
discussed
apparently I've
that.
not been in contact with it myself, but just on the episode before this one, I was just talking about
You were
my
yeah,
explaining it to me,
yeah,
weren't
my
you?
most recent debrief and what the future holds going forward if we ever wanted another pregnancy. And that was one
Mm.
of the things that was brought up is that a rainbow clinic is
hmm
very supportive of parents wanting to try again. And I think they can provide a lot of support and resources to help you
Mm.
cope because being pregnant is stressful anyway, but being pregnant
yeah,
after
After
a
a
loss,
loss,
it like, oh God, my
you d
anxiety would be through the
yeah,
roof.
yeah.
Like,
It's one of them. It's
yeah.
I always say I want it more than anything right now, but I'm so scared of it at the same
yeah,
time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's good that you
Mm.
have one or you've been in contact with a clinic. Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
so it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare at all. But I know that the feeling is similar. It's like when I got pregnant. So my daughter wasn't my first pregnancy. I lost my first pregnancy, but it was very, very early. I had an early miscarriage. And I remember that this feeling didn't even fade until I was like 6, 7 months pregnant, where every time I went to the
The toilet.
bathroom, I was
Yeah.
just
yeah,
expecting to see blood
Yeah.
every single time. And so I think, like you say, whatever loss it is, after loss, I think it's hard to
Heightened
find,
anxiety, isn't
yeah,
it?
that anxiety and that stress, and it's finding that support and that
Yeah.
reassurance that sort of gets you through it,
Mm.
most definitely.
Yeah.
So in your journey, Robyn, you've got you're awaiting the results now from your cord and your placenta, and you said that's before Christmas, is it?
It's just after.
Just after Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, have you got anything else that I know when you went through your journey with Luna, and obviously it's still ongoing, you couldn't see past the investigation into Luna's death, and once that was over, you could start to close that particular chapter. And have you got anything other than the results that you're waiting on for you to sort of start that journey of moving forward and looking forward?
Don't know really. I think I'm just trying to get through that and
See what that
yeah, New Year scares me quite a lot. I don't know whether you were the same in the year that you lost Luna, but I feel like
Didn't want to go
going in
into don't
no.
want to go into a new
It
year because
no.
it's not the year that I had and lost her.
I feel like the year being in Freya's year is the only one of the only things I have left.
Yeah.
And then when you go into another one, I feel like it's harder to say my baby died last year.
Last year, yeah.
And I feel like I'm leaving her behind.
No, absolutely not, because she's always in here and she's always in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I always found that the thought of these upcoming events, because you're very much still in the very early stages, so you've got your first Christmas, your first New Year, your first, your first everything. And I think the firsts continue forever because there's always going to be the first that she should have gone to school and the first that she should be having prom or whatever those may be.
Mm-hmm.
I find the anticipation of those first
the lead
events
up's worse than the
is
actual
worse than
days.
the actual day.
Yeah,
So yeah, I really struggled with the coming up to what should have been her due date and what should have been her first birthday. But
yeah,
day is actually there. It's not as bad as I felt the week before. If does that make
yeah.
sense?
No, it does. A lot of mums have said
Build
that.
ourselves up so
That
much.
Yeah,
it's
It's
so
going to be
bad.
so horrific, and
Yeah.
it will be though. But people have different ways of coping, and you just do what you think's best and your partner thinks best. But yeah, I always found that the lead up to these events, probably because of how our mind works, it makes it worse.
yeah.
But I just think just do whatever you and your partner feels right for you. Don't think about anybody else because only you and him know what you're going through and how you truly feel.
Mm.
And yeah, just be selfish. Don't think about anyone else. Just think of you two.
Mm.
And you celebrate or don't celebrate in whatever way is right.
I
Yeah.
think Christmas is just a Wednesday for us this year.
Another day. Yes,
We've
Just
we've booked a little cabin in the middle of nowhere from
oh,
Christmas Eve till Boxing Day, just us two and the dog. So we're just
that's
escaping.
yeah,
that'd be nice.
absolutely. And that'll be nice for a bit of you time as well.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah.
to just escape
Remove
everything.
yourself as well
Yeah,
from like your house and
yeah.
just to get
Just
away.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's a shit time. Yeah, it is. There's no point sugarcoating it. It's
No,
going.
it is. It's shit.
Oh,
And
it's
yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And anyone pretends that it isn't
yeah,
shit
yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no,
Excuse
that's
my
a really
language.
nice way, of dealing with your first Christmas. Like
yeah,
it's definitely.
And putting
Oh,
yourselves first,
yeah,
by the sounds of
got
it.
to. You definitely have to, even if you do have a big extended friends and family
Mm.
circle, like their Christmas and their New Year will just carry on as normal, whereas yours won't. So, and as much as they say that, oh, we're thinking of you, yeah, they're just getting on with it, whereas you
yeah,
you two won't be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really nice. I'm glad to hear that you're having some time.
yeah,
Definitely, it'll be good.
Mm.
Good in its own little way.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Have you got
Well,
any other questions, or is there anything else you would like to say, or
No, I don't think so.
feel like
No.
I was going to ask you one more? Oh, I know what it was.
oh,
Just
oh,
because I'm talking about it now. So when you mentioned before that you started doing your painting and like crafty things and keeping yourself occupied. Have you always done that prior to losing Freya, or is that a new thing that you've picked up?
No, so I was quite arty in school, but
Yeah.
didn't really carry it on afterwards. And then when Freya died, I started painting little rocks,
Yeah.
and we started leaving them in places. And then
Mm.
everyone was like, "You know what, Robyn, you're actually quite good."
How
I
did
was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, so the reason why I was asking is because, right, I'm
Oh
gonna give
God,
you
you're not arty, are you?
no.
I thought you were
How
gonna.
rude. How
Sorry,
rude.
I can say that. I've known her long enough.
I'm quite creative, like 'cause I
Creative,
do
just not
bake. So I
arty.
did a lot of baking. I always
hmm
used to do a lot of baking, and then after I lost Luna and I was on maternity
That sounded
sickness,
so rude.
so rude. Just as though she's
Sorry.
one of my best friends around the air. I found baking really therapeutic and really helpful during the time after we lost Luna. And it was only the other night that me and Richard, my partner, were sat down talking, and he was chatting on that he listens to podcasts a lot.
Mm.
And there was a podcast talking about anxiety. So we've both suffered with anxiety and depression since we lost Luna. Never have before. Very outgoing people prior to this. Now, like, I just like my own four walls and
Yeah.
Jodie, and that's about it. So he was saying that this podcast, I can't remember the name, so I can't promote whoever it was, but they were talking about anxiety and how creativity and anxiety can't work together. So your brain can't
Ah, I see where
be,
you're going with this now.
yeah. I like to know. I'm quite good
Yeah,
at saying
yeah,
these
yeah.
things tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't be anxious and be creative at the same time. So this is why a
Mm.
lot of people find a creative way to cope after they've been through something
Yeah.
traumatic, to help them
Ah.
deal with anxiety. So I found that very interesting that you said that
Mm.
your creativity
Mm.
of drawing, painting has been really helpful, and that's because your brain cannot physically do the both at the same time. So yeah, so keep it up basically.
Yeah.
Ah,
Again,
that's
whether it's
interesting.
a known way to you or not, it sounds like this is another coping
Yeah.
mechanism come across
Yeah.
you, that is working. So
Mm.
and apparently there is actually meaning and reasoning behind it.
Oh,
The little
well.
brain works quite cleverly
Well,
sometimes.
I said you're not arty. I meant you just can't draw for shit. You can make beautiful cakes. You can paint in buttercream.
Yeah, might be a beautiful buttercream picture. That's about it.
Yeah, she does the best cakes ever.
Yeah.
A
But yeah,
creative in baking.
yeah. See,
I'm so
that's something that we actually said, like you make all these New Year resolutions and
Emotions.
plans and all that crap that you never stick to. But he said, oh, maybe we should do, like, I know, like, most areas have some form of, like, art class, like, whether it be painting, pottery,
Pottery, something like that, yeah.
something. And, Richard, he is not one to be, like, going to groups and
I've
being
now
like,
got this
imagine
image of you
me
and
Richard
Richard
doing,
like,
like,
I'm the
nude
ghost.
paintings.
I've got these like ghost pottery
Yeah.
wheel.
So he said, oh, maybe that's something that because we've
Do
said like in the
together.
new year that we want to, lose weight, become healthier, try and get our mental health in a better place than it's been in the last year. And he said, maybe after listening to that podcast, that's what we need to do. We need to be
Wow.
more creative and go to a weekly, monthly class.
Sure, this is
or
not like a
something.
hypnosis and he's been hypnotized by this podcast.
Yeah. Because he's not creative whatsoever. So
no, but it's the fact that he's open to doing that, which
yeah.
that's in self the most shocking thing.
Yeah.
Not that it's a creative thing; it's
No.
just that he's willing to actually
do
go
something
and
different, and if it helps,
do some pottery wheeling. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for talking to us, Robyn.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for having me.
Freya's story. Yeah, obviously we'll keep in contact on over our social media, and I'll fire you some messages with things that we've talked about tonight.
Great,
yeah, if you want to reach out at any point, we're always here. And likewise, if you get the results and you want to share them, or you want to speak to, and I'm not talking about on a public forum like this podcast. If you want to speak to us, we're always here, and we love, even if it's for the most horrific reasons, we love connecting with other women and other couples that need that extra support, because this is why we've started it, because we've definitely needed the support. We've wanted to sit and talk and and if we can help just one family or one person, feel a little bit better or feel like they're less alone, this is why we're here.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sitting down, telling your stories, telling us about Freya. And we really hope that you and your partner, get through this festive period as best you can and into the new year, and that appointment, you get out of it what you need from it. Whatever news that may be, we hope that you get what you need and the answers that you need. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
we will definitely keep in touch. So
Yeah, definitely.
this will go live when I have chance to edit it. So I will let you know before
No
it goes.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Bye.